Just a quick refresher on some corporation tax changes which came in last year. Cars delivered from April 2009, owner of the vehicle gets capital allowances. They get 100% of the capital allowance where the CO2s are less than 110. That means if they buy a car for 20,000 quid, 20,000 quid can be written off against their profits in the year in which they acquire that car. For cars between 111 and 160, 20% of the cost of that car is written off in the year of acquisition. And then for cars that are 161 or greater, then it's only 10% of that cost which is available to write off against your profits. Where a customer is leasing a car, then that business gets full tax relief for the finance and service of the rental of the car, where the CO2s are below 160. Where it's above 160, there's a flat rate lease rental restriction of 15%, and that replaces again what was called the expensive car leasing rental restriction. First one I looked at is a car which is just crossing over the 160 divide, if you like. So I've picked an Astra Estate. The 1.6 there has got 158 of CO2. The 1.8 is emitting 172. Largely, that's reflected in the rental. Half that difference of £19 in the rental is attributable to the fact that we, as the owner of that vehicle, for the 1.6 engine, just below the 160, we can get 20% of capital allowances. For the 1.8, we can only get 10% capital allowances. The post-tax difference is about £26. Yeah? And that's higher. Normally, you would actually expect the post-tax cost probably to be slightly lower. The difference slightly lower than the pre-tax costs. But it's higher, and that's because of the impact of that lease rental restriction. My one piece of advice at the moment really is if you're looking at vehicles which are around that 160 threshold or around the 110 threshold, you know, if you can get a like-for-like vehicle, the sensible thing to do is to pick the one that is below that threshold, because you will be saving some fairly significant costs there. We're just over a year or so since these changes were made. What sort of responses have we seen as a business to the changes? Well, we've had some companies are moving to a sub 160 policy. Some customers are incentivising sub 160 cars. So they have a slightly different view of the world. What they say actually is, oh, you can still pick any cars you like. You know, often given an allowance in terms of how much you're allowed to spend on that vehicle. But they might say, well, actually, if you pick a car with CO2s below 160, for the sake of example, we'll actually give you £10 more to spend. Yeah, and the company will actually get that back through the savings that are generated by having your lower CO2 and your higher fuel efficiency, your lower costs because of your taxation, etc., etc. There are going to be some changes in the way in which leases are accounted for. At the moment, as we all know, contract hire is off balance sheet. What's happening is in the future is what's called a right of use approach. So essentially, it doesn't matter who owns the vehicle. Yeah? The principle is, if you are using an asset in your business, it goes on your balance sheet. Similarly, if you have obligations to pay for that asset in the future, because you've got, say, a 3-year lease term or a 5-year lease term or whatever it happens to be, then that liability, that future liability, if you like, should go on your balance sheet as well. It's likely that effectively contract hire will be going on balance sheets almost certainly in 2012, possibly 2011. And it's possible that 2010 actually might be impacted, because when companies publish their accounts, they publish their current year figures, and they publish their comparative year, their previous year figures as well. Largely an accounting and finance impact, not an impact operationally. Will contract hire still be right for me? Yes, this is a change that's coming, but frankly, all of the advantages that contract hire provide now and has provided over the last 20, 30 years or whatever will still be there. None of those will be impacted by the fact that there's a change in the way in which contract hire deals are accounted for.